So what if I told you that the number one skill employers are just begging for in the 2026 AI job market has absolutely nothing to do with coding or advanced math or neural networks?
I mean, that sounds crazy, right? Because usually when we talk about surviving this massive shift in tech, the anxiety is completely focused on the shiny new object.
Oh, totally. We panic about the latest model release or, the newest framework. We just assume our entire career hinges on mastering it by tomorrow morning.
Right, and that anxiety is everywhere. We treat the modern tech landscape like it's a sprint where the finish line just keeps moving out of sight.
Right.
But if you constantly chase the newest tool without a broader foundation, you end up with a very brittle career.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. So for you listening, we are looking at a real-time, highly localized job market radar. And it was built by someone who has navigated literally every major computing shift of the last 40 years.
It really is a fascinating stack of sources we're working from today.
Yeah, we've got a professional profile, a highly detailed record of certifications for Debra McCusker. She's currently a department head at Alamance Community College, or ACC, down in North Carolina.
Right, and alongside all her background info, we have two really comprehensive labor market analyzer reports she authored. One is from January, and the other is from June of 2026.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
well.
to really grasp the revolutionary way she is reshaping education today, we first have to understand her foundational agility as a practitioner. Because if you look at the timeline, her career literally maps the historical evolution of the information age.
It really does.
I mean, she starts back in 1980 as a member of technical staff at Bell Labs.
Which, Bell Labs in 1980 is basically hallowed ground for computing. It's the birthplace of C, the Unix operating system, and she walked in there with a bachelor's in applied mathematics from the University of Pittsburgh and a master's in engineering from Rutgers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was doing software systems analysis and designing integration tools during the actual foundational era of modern computer science.
Right, and I would normally assume that jumping from that elite engineering environment in the 80s to, running an online toy retailer in the 90s is a step backward, technically.
But it really wasn't, though.
No, exactly. Looking at her entrepreneurial era, which ran from 1988 to 2009, she was running the day-to-day operations for DurableToys.com. She was essentially building modern e-commerce infrastructure from scratch.
Yeah, building it before the tools we just take for granted today even existed. She wasn't just shipping out products. She was managing the extract, transform, and load, or ETL process for a 1.1 million record prospect database.
Okay, for anyone who hasn't built a database, ETL sounds like corporate jargon. But it's essentially the invisible plumbing of the entire internet, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's the absolute core of data engineering. So extract means pulling messy data from various wild sources. Transform means cleaning it up, normalizing it, turning it into a uniform format.
Right, getting it all to speak the same language.
Exactly. And then load means safely putting it into your central database so you can actually query it and make business decisions.
And she was doing that for over 1 million records in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah. Writing early web tools in HTML and Perl, managing it all in Microsoft Access 97, it requires some serious architectural thinking.
So I look at this like a video game tech tree. She's constantly unlocking new base skills. But I have a hypothesis here.
Okay, let's hear it.
You take someone writing Perl scripts and managing Access databases in the dot-com boom.
Yeah.
By the time 2010 rolls around, those specific tools are ancient history.
Oh, absolutely obsolete.
Right. So how does she pivot to joining Alamance Community College full-time without her skills just completely rotting away?
Well, the secret there is she never stopped putting herself back in the seat of the learner. Her certification records prove this relentless commitment to upskilling.
Like what, specifically?
If you look at the recent additions to her profile, she completed an AWS machine learning bootcamp. And that involves getting deep into the weeds of data preparation and training actual machine learning models using cloud infrastructure, like AWS SageMaker.
Okay, so not just theory. Actual hands-on cloud ML.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she didn't just stop at cloud concepts. The sources show she earned a Cisco DevNet Associate certification.
Wait, Cisco. I know Cisco traditionally means plugging in routers and switches, right?
Usually, yes. But DevNet is entirely different. That cert requires passing 25 hands-on labs covering Python coding, Linux administration, interacting with APIs, and infrastructure automation.
Wow. Okay.
She also earned the title of League AI Fellow from the League for Innovation in the Community College. And it's really that blend of nonstop technical curiosity and pedagogical focus that fueled her rapid ascent in academic leadership.
Yeah, because by 2020, she spearheads ACC's effort to earn the highly rigorous NSA and Department of Homeland Security designation as a Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense.
Which is huge. That involves proving to the federal government that your college's syllabus maps perfectly to highly specific national security knowledge units.
Right, that is definitely not a rubber stamp process. So then she becomes the department head of accounting, business, and IT in 2022. Then she designs a brand new associate in applied science degree in artificial intelligence in 2024.
Yeah. And finally takes the helm as the department head of AI and information technology in January 2025.
Okay, so if we step into the shoes of an academic leader for a moment, the central dilemma of higher education has to be the lag time, right? Like, how do you ensure your students aren't learning obsolete skills by the time they graduate?
That is the exact problem. Traditional college program reviews rely on these static labor reports from government agencies, and those are often, 2 years out of date by the time they're even published.
Yeah, or they rely on local advisory boards made up of business owners who might meet for coffee, like once a semester. It's an incredibly slow feedback loop.
It really is. And if the tech industry changes every 6 months, but a college catalog only updates every 2 years, the students are the ones who pay the price.
Exactly.
So to solve that lag, she built a tool to listen directly to the job market. Leveraging her role as a League AI Fellow, she developed what she calls the AI Labor Market Analyzer.
Okay, I need to challenge the premise of this tool for a second. Because the source says she feeds job postings into an AI to map them against her college's curriculum to find gaps.
Right.
But anyone who has used a large language model knows they hallucinate. They just invent things that sound plausible. How does she prevent the AI from just hallucinating connections and recommending some fake curriculum?
It's a great question. She prevents hallucinations through rigorous data engineering. It actually goes right back to those ETL pipelines she was building in the 90s.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, she doesn't just ask an AI a vague question. She wrote a Python script that pulls live, highly specific job posting data using the Adzuna API, filtering for a 60-mile radius around Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, so she's targeting the literal backyard of her students, the greater Raleigh-Durham market.
Exactly. Then comes the transformation step. The API returns JSON data. Now, JSON is fantastic for machines to talk to each other, but it is deeply nested and really messy.
Right.
So her script normalizes that messy JSON into a clean, highly structured CSV file, rows and columns of hard data.
Oh, okay.
And only after the data is structured does she feed it into the Claude 4.6 chatbot, alongside ACC's current degree plan.
So she's putting heavy guardrails on the AI. She uses specific prompts to force Claude 4.6 to map the hard data in that CSV against the existing course outcomes.
Exactly.
So instead of reading last year's weather almanac to plan a syllabus, she essentially built a live Doppler radar for local job demands.
That's a perfect analogy, and the sheer efficiency is the breakthrough here. The report notes this entire workflow takes about 30 minutes of staff time per month.
Wow. 30 minutes to get a real-time, high-fidelity pulse on exactly what local employers are willing to pay for today.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the actual blips on that Doppler radar, because the findings from her 2026 reports are just full of surprises. Let's start with the IT report from January 2026.
Okay, yeah.
That one analyzed 356 postings in the Research Triangle Park region. And the first thing that jumps out is the financial reality. The median salary for these IT roles is $106,697.
Which represents life-changing economic mobility for a community college graduate. But, the skills driving those salaries aren't solely technical.
Right.
The most fascinating data point in the entire January report is that communication tied exactly with cloud computing as the absolute #1 most demanded skill. Both hit exactly 11.5% of the mentions.
Now, I want to make sure we don't understate what communication means in a highly technical environment in 2026.
Okay.
Because this isn't just about writing polite emails or having good phone etiquette, is it?
No, not at all. Modern tech stacks are incredibly complex. You might be brilliant at architecting a multi-cloud environment, but if you cannot translate why a system outage happened to a non-technical stakeholder,
Right.
or if you can't document your architecture clearly enough for the next developer to understand it, your technical brilliance is actually a bottleneck.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The data proves that technical execution and cross-functional translation basically have to be developed simultaneously.
Exactly.
But then We move to the June 2026 report, which is purely focused on artificial intelligence. She runs 760 unique AI-related job postings through the analyzer.
Yeah.
Now, I would assume an AI job radar in 2026 is just wall-to-wall demands for PhD mathematicians and senior developers building massive models from scratch.
You'd think so, but the data tells a very different story regarding entry-level accessibility. The report breaks down roles into categories like ML engineer, data scientist, and MLOps engineer.
Right.
But it highlights the Gen AI or large language model developer as the highest priority target for community college graduates.
Wait, why is Gen AI development the target rather than, say, data science?
The underlying math and the day-to-day workflow are completely different. Data scientist roles skew heavily senior because they require deep, often graduate-level statistical backgrounds to train models from scratch.
Oh, right.
Whereas Gen AI development is about taking existing pre-trained foundational models and utilizing their APIs to build practical applications.
So the Gen AI developer isn't inventing the engine. They're building the car around the engine.
Exactly. And the job market signals reflect that distinction perfectly. Out of 37 local postings for Gen AI developers, 13 of them carried junior, associate, or intern signals.
Wow, so it really is the most viable on-ramp for a student with a 2-year degree.
It absolutely is.
Here's where it gets really interesting for anyone listening who wants to future-proof their own career. The report includes an emerging versus foundational skills chart that she generated for her advisory board.
Yeah, that chart is telling.
It separates the skills into 2 buckets. The foundational bucket includes things like cloud platforms, Python programming, and SQL databases.
Right. Those are the non-negotiable baselines. Employers don't celebrate the fact that, SQL or AWS, they simply assume you have them before you even walk in the door.
Exactly. And the second bucket is the emerging skills, the specific capabilities employers are actively shouting about in their postings right now.
And the numbers here tell a huge story. Agentic AI had 59 mentions. Arga had 16 mentions.
But the detail that completely rewired my understanding of the market was the absence of a very specific title. I mean, everyone a few years ago thought prompt engineering was going to be the hottest, most lucrative job title of the decade.
Right. Everyone was talking about it.
Do you know how many times it appeared as a keyword in these 760 postings?
How many?
0.
Wow.
0 mentions.
The complete vanishing of prompt engineering illustrates how rapidly AI models mature. The models simply became vastly better at inferring human intent.
Right. You don't need a magic spell anymore.
Exactly. You no longer need to speak to them in a hyper-specific, rigid syntax to get a good output.
So prompt engineering isn't a job anymore. It's just basic computer literacy. If you're listening to this and panicking because your resume heavily relies on the phrase prompt engineer, this is your wake-up call.
Yeah, the market has completely moved on. The skill is now entirely implied within those Gen AI developer roles.
Which brings us to the emerging skills that have actually replaced it.
Yeah.
The high demand for agentic AI, those 59 mentions, shows that employers want systems that do more than just answer a question.
Right. They want AI agents that can be given a goal, break that goal down into autonomous steps, use external tools, and just execute a workflow without human hand-holding.
And what about the 16 mentions for RAG?
So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and this solves the hallucination problem we talked about earlier.
Okay. Oh.
Instead of letting a language model guess an answer based on its broad training data, RAG forces the model to first retrieve information from a specific trusted internal database like a company's HR policies or an inventory system. And then it generates an answer based strictly on that retrieved data.
Okay, so Debra has all this rich data. She knows exactly what the market demands. But data is useless unless it catalyzes change, right? If we adopt the perspective of an academic leader, how do these insights practically impact the educational sphere? Like, how does her syllabus actually change?
Well, this is where Debra's model really proves its worth. She didn't just generate a fascinating report. She translated the data into actionable curriculum adjustments for the very next catalog cycle.
Oh, wow, that fast.
Yeah. For instance, because cloud computing tied for the #1 demand, she recommended embedding a Cloud Fundamentals lab module using AWS Educate or Microsoft Azure directly into the foundational IT courses.
So rather than waiting for a student to take a dedicated cloud elective in their second year, they hit the ground running with cloud infrastructure immediately.
Exactly.
What about the AI curriculum? How do you even teach agentic AI to a community college student?
She mandated that the existing machine learning I-course expand to include a specific unit on RAG and agentic AI.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the students are explicitly learning frameworks like LangChain, how vector retrieval works, and how to design those multi-step autonomous agents.
And the report also mentions a gap in model deployment. They introduced an MLOps capstone in the 5th semester.
Yes.
For those who aren't data engineers, what does taking a model from a Jupyter notebook to a live production endpoint actually mean?
So a Jupyter Notebook is basically a scientist's sandbox. It's a perfectly controlled environment on your local machine where you experiment and train your model.
Right.
But a model is useless if it stays in the sandbox. MLOps, or machine learning operations, is the engineering practice of taking that model and deploying it into the real world.
Where it has to survive being hit by like 10,000 users at once,
Yeah.
deal with terrible input formatting, and scale dynamically.
Precisely. It requires an entirely different skill set involving continuous integration, monitoring, infrastructure. Teaching MLOps ensures the students aren't just theorists, they are practitioners who can actually deliver business value.
And I really love how she tackled that communication surprise, you know, the tie for the #1 most demanded skill. She didn't just tell students to talk more.
No, she made it measurable.
Yeah, she recommended that communication skills account for 10% of the grading rubric across all technical courses. And she embedded AI ethics and responsible use directly into the capstone coursework.
Integrating those soft skills into the technical grading rubric basically forces the students to practice cross-functional translation. They have to prove they can explain the neural network they just built.
Yeah.
If we step back and look at the broader impact on the educational sphere, Debra's methodology proves that large, traditionally slow institutions can actually operate with the agility of a startup.
It fundamentally changes the value proposition of the college. You are no longer guessing what employers might want based on a 2-year-old government survey.
You are providing a verifiable pipeline of talent perfectly calibrated to the immediate needs of the regional economy. And for the listener navigating their own career, the blueprint is clear. You combine foundational technical capabilities like SQL, cloud infrastructure, and scripting with high-level communication and a relentless commitment to upskilling.
4-decade career strategy. It's really incredible to track this trajectory. I mean, she went from writing software systems analysis at Bell Labs in 1980 to wrangling million-record ETL pipelines in the dot-com boom to leveraging Claude 4.6 and the Adzuna API to orchestrate real-time academic curriculum in 2026.
It's a wild ride.
It is. Debra's work is the ultimate proof that AI is a tool to enhance human judgment, not replace it. She built the data pipeline, but the expert human educator made the final decisions on how to shape the minds of the next generation.
It really is the perfect synthesis of a practitioner's grit and an academic leader's vision. She built a systemic radar to ensure her students never graduate into obsolescence.
Yeah, which brings me to a final provocative thought to leave you with as you consider the future of education.
Oh, I'm curious.
So, Debra successfully used a large language model to parse raw job data, map it against a syllabus, and perfectly recommend lab updates in just 30 minutes a month.
Right.
If the technology can do that mapping so flawlessly today, how long will it be until an AI starts dynamically generating the coursework, the reading materials, and the lab assignments for each individual student on a day-by-day basis?
Oh, wow.
Right? If the curriculum can update daily based on live API feeds, are we looking at the absolute end of the static multi-year college major as we know it?
That is definitely something to mull over.
It really is.